Wow, hi everyone. I have just climbed one of the biggest mountains or hills in Manly. Last week we learnt how Matt showed us how the Bible tells us that if we have faith, knowing that God is always good, that God is always loving, and that God is always in control, we can have hope in Jesus. And that will help us to love those around us.
Today, we are going to learn about Jesus and the time when he climbed to the top of a mountain near a place called Galilee. It was a long way away from Manly over the other side of the ocean. It was near a sea and up a mountain that he gave the Sermon of the Mount to his disciples. It was during this sermon that Jesus taught his disciples how to live loving Jesus and those around them. It was on the mountain that Jesus taught us how to pray to our Father in heaven. It's very interesting that he chose a place in nature to give his lesson. I know for myself, I often come to places such as these to be near him, to read my Bible and to learn my own daily lesson. So who are his disciples? Today you will find out soon from Matt and Scruff. I can't believe it, another one of Matt's puppet friends. How many does he have? Anyway, we're going to learn a lesson from him again today, and I'm so looking forward to learning more about God's Son Jesus. But let's first pray with James.
Hey everyone, great to see you all again. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you that we live in such a beautiful place, and even though we're going through some tough times at the moment, we can still enjoy the beauty of nature that surrounds us while walking with those we love. Thank you that we have Matt and Scruff to help us teach us more about your Son, Jesus. And thank you that Jesus teaches us how to love and care for those around us. Thank you that he teaches us how to be different from others so that we can lead them to himself. Help us to be followers of Jesus so that we can grow more like him every day. Thank you that you gave us Jesus so that we continue to have hope in the knowledge that one day he will make everything perfect again for those who love him. Amen.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Quizworx Home Delivery. I'm Matt. Alright, I'm ready to go. Scruff, what are you wearing? You told me that over the next few weeks we're going to be following Jesus up a mountain. So I've got my mountain climbing gear. I've got my hair to keep my head warm. I've got my sword to keep the Yeti away. Hiya! And I've got I've got Cedric to keep me company. Scruff, we're not actually going mountain climbing. But you said! Over the next few weeks, we're going to be reading and thinking about what Jesus taught when he was up a mountain. We're not actually heading up a mountain ourselves. So I don't need all this stuff. No, you don't. Good. I look ridiculous. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be thinking about some words that Jesus taught in what's called the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is found in the Bible in a book called Matthew, in Matthew chapter 5 to 7. And in Matthew chapter 5 verse 1, we're told who it is that Jesus is teaching. Have a listen. It says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the side of a mountain and sat down. Jesus' disciples gathered around him and he taught them. Now, Jesus' disciples are people who are chosen by Jesus and called by Jesus and loved by Jesus too. So each week as we go through this Sermon on the Mount, I'm going to say, who are the people that Jesus is teaching? And I want everybody to go, these are people who are chosen by Jesus, called by Jesus, and loved by Jesus too. And then I'll say, now where to? And we're going to go, follow Jesus, live like Jesus, and become like Jesus too. Like we're getting dressed, okay? So let's give that a go. Who are these people that Jesus is teaching? These are people who are chosen by Jesus, called by Jesus, and loved by Jesus too. Now where to? Follow Jesus, live like Jesus, and become like Jesus too. Excellent. Now, The words that we're going to be thinking about today in the Sermon on the Mount are from Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. You are like salt for everyone on earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? All it is good for is to be thrown out and walked on. Jesus uses lots of picture language here in the Sermon on the Mount. And so each week we're going to watch a video that kind of imagines what this picture language could look like. Let's have a look right now. That was a funny video. The salt lost its saltiness. Yeah, but Jesus' point here is that his followers, people who were chosen by Jesus, called by Jesus, and loved by Jesus too, well, they must live differently to the people around them. They must be like salt on food. Oh, like salt on fish and chips. It makes things taste differently. Exactly. When we follow Jesus, live like Jesus, and become like Jesus too, well, we will be different to the people around us who don't follow Jesus. But if you just act like everyone else, you're like salt with no saltiness. Exactly. And that does no one any good. Cool. Hey Matt, could you send me a home delivery of that salt? Why? Oh, I'm going to add it to Cedric. Then he might taste better. Over the next few weeks, we're going to keep thinking about how people who are chosen by Jesus, called by Jesus, and loved by Jesus too are to live differently. And to help you think more about what it means to live differently following Jesus, we've got some game and craft ideas, some activity sheets and discussion questions, and some more videos that you can watch at www.quizworx.com/home delivery. See you next week.
Hi everyone, I'm Miriam, and I'm going to teach you a memory verse from the Bible, from the Sermon on the Mount. This is going to be our memory verse for the whole 4 weeks. And this is from Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 to 27. And it's Jesus speaking, and he's telling us that we need to listen to what he says, and then we need to do what he says. Okay, so this is from Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 to 27. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say the words with some actions, and then I want you to say the words with the actions after me. Okay, so we start like this. We go, Jesus said, together. Jesus said. Now, we're doing this for Jesus because this is actually sign language for Jesus. Jesus died on the cross, so he had some nails put in his hands. That's why it's sign language for Jesus. And this is sign language for said. Then we go, if you hear these words of mine and put them into action, let's do that together. If you hear these words of mine and put them into action, then we go, you're like a wise person, so you're making like a W. You're like a wise person who built their house on the rock. Huh. Ready? Together. You're like a wise person who built their house on the rock. Huh. Excellent. Then we go, the rain came down, swoosh. Your turn. The rain came down, swoosh. Then we go, the streams rose, bubble, bubble, bubble. Your turn. The streams rose, bubble, bubble, bubble. And then we go, and the wind blew, whoosh. Your turn. And the wind blew, whoosh. Then we go, but it didn't fall. No. Together. But it didn't fall. No. Because it was built on the rock. Huh. Your turn. Because it was built on the rock. Huh. Excellent. Then we go, but if you hear these words of mine and don't put them into action, your turn. But if you hear these words of mine and don't put them into action, you're like a foolish person who built their house on the sand. Ew! Together. You're like a foolish person who built their house on the sand. Ew! And then the next part's the same. So let's do it all together. The rain came down, swoosh. The streams rose, bubble, bubble, bubble. And the wind blew, whoosh. And then we go. And it went crash. And then you go and fall over. Ready? And it went crash. And then we go, because it was built on the sand. Ew. Okay? Because it was built on the sand. Ew. All right. Let's see if we can do it together all the way from the top. This is from the Bible, from Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 to 27. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Jesus said, if you hear these words of mine and put them into action, you're like a wise person who built their house on the rock. Huh. The rain came down, swoosh. The streams rose, bubble, 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 and the wind blew, whoosh. But it didn't fall, no, because it was built on the rock. Huh. But if you hear these words of mine and don't put them into action, you're like a foolish person who built their house on the sand. Ew! The rain came down, swoosh. The streams rose, bubble, 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 and the wind blew, whoosh. And it went crash! 'Cause it was built on the sand. Ew! In other words, Jesus is telling us we've got to listen to what he says, and we have to do what he says.
Hey guys, it's been so good to be able to do Kids Church with you this week, and I am so excited that we have been able to start a whole new series on the Sermon on the Mount together. So if you've already forgotten, basically this week we learnt that Jesus said to all the people he was speaking to on the mountain that his followers are people who are chosen, called, and loved by Jesus. And basically we are called to live differently to the people around us. They're kind of like salt on food. You know how when you go down to the beach and you have those delicious hot chips and they always taste that little bit better and that little bit different when they have salt on them. In the same way, we look different if we live like Jesus. So, I wonder what you are going to do this week to show that you are a follower of Jesus. It might mean writing a nice letter to someone, it might mean doing a chore without being asked, or it might even mean using kind language to everyone around you. But it has been so great to do Kids Church with you this week, and I really hope that you're thinking about how you can live differently and be a follower of Jesus. Well, I'll see you guys soon.